All right, for their analysis on another extraordinary day of pandemic politics, I'm joined from Sydney by the host of Chris Smith tonight, Chris Smith, and from the Gold Coast by the host of the Front Page, Peter Gleeson. Gleeson, I'll start with you. Not a good result in New South Wales this morning. 43 cases out of the 110 out in the community while infectious. Gladys Berejiklian said she needs more time to assess whether the stricter lockdown is actually having the desired effect. I know you're one of the 13.5 million of us that are not locked down tonight, but it's a pretty grim mood.
It's a very grim mood, Peter, there's no doubt about that. And you've got to feel sorry for those businesses that are really, really struggling right now, and there doesn't appear to be any good news in sight. 43 of those transmissions today were community transmissions, which means that this particular virus, the Delta variant, which is of course the one that's more transmissible than any, is out there. It's spreading within the Sydney community. And look, I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I know our viewers in Sydney and of course Melbourne will not be very happy with that assessment, but it just looks like this particular variant is there to stay, and it is going to take a hell of an effort to get it under control.
Chris, our colleague Andrew Clennell reported that at the start of July, just 34% of the over 50s in the Fairfield local government area, for those outside of Sydney, this is one of the key areas for the movement of the Delta virus, that they had received their first vaccine dose. Now, that's compared to the national average of 55%. You grew up in the area. Why the reason for the low rate, do you think, and what can the government do to lift it?
Yeah, well, it's a tough one. Firstly, I think a lot of people who live in that area are very, very mobile. And I said this to you this time last week. These people have 2, sometimes even 3 jobs. Both parents work. They move from that southwestern area of Sydney. They can often work in the eastern suburbs, the North Shore, Sutherland. They travel far and long to get income. And so firstly, they're busy. That's the first thing. And secondly, most of the problems that we've had, I think, with COVID-19 in terms of the outbreaks have not been in southwestern Sydney. We've had a lot occurring in the eastern suburbs, around the CBD in particular, not necessarily in that Liverpool, Fairfield area. So I think for those that I know out there, they've been, up until now, thinking that they're sort of separate from the rest of Sydney that have had problems. Well, that's changed. And what I do notice is those that were resisting getting out and bothering to get a vaccine, opting to get one later and get on with their life, are now deciding to stand up and go and get the vaccine. So the mere outbreak, the mere fear of an outbreak in their suburb and the next suburb has made them go out and get a vaccine. And I've heard many, many stories like this where the recent outbreak has changed their mind on vaccines, which is a good thing.
Yeah, look, I think that's this experience for lockdown 4 out of Victoria. I think that's where they had a real lift with older Australians. Let's have a look at Daniel Andrews today, opening the door, Gleeson, to banning unvaccinated patrons from major events like the football. It's extraordinary. According to the Premier, this is a quote, "Informed discussion should be had about no vaccine, no entry policies once more Australians have had a chance to get the jab." This is a vaccine passport by stealth, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Peter, you're the lawyer. How are they going to enforce that? That's the key here. I mean, we heard Alan Joyce talk about this 6 or 8 months ago where, no vaccine, no ability to travel. I just find that, when it comes to civil liberties, when it comes to actually mandating this type of behaviour, that's a very big brother approach. However, I've got to say, I think there's an inevitability about this. I think you'll find that the stadiums themselves, the airlines themselves will try and introduce this. That's why I think there is a legal minefield involved in all this, and it will be incredibly interesting to see someone, a citizen of this country, if it is mandated that you've got to have a jab to go to the footy, says, well, hang on, I'm being discriminated against here and I am going to take this to court. I think it's a legal minefield.
Yeah, it's interesting, Chris. In the UK, they're in the sporting field, theatre requirement. They say that it'll come in for vaccine passports. In France, it's even further. I mean, you want to get a coffee, you're going to have your vaccine passport, and that came in overnight in France. I know a lot of people. I am opposed to forcing people to have a vaccine, and this is, that by stealth. The PM, though, said today it was his disposition that we have these sorts of passports. What do you think?
I think it's going to be much easier to enact if you're a private organisation like Qantas, for instance, and Alan Joyce has put it on, as Peter said, has put it on the record many months ago. I think we will see this in 2022, absolutely for sure. And a lot of private companies will do the same because they're private. Now, it may be a little bit more difficult, though, for the premiers to go through and do this to state utilities, to facilities that are owned by the government. I think that might be a little more problematic. But while you're talking about legal action on one side, saying, hey, listen, you're discriminating against me, I think the other side, I think those that are vaxxed, I think you'll find a class action will come the other way and say, sorry, you're allowing someone into a stadium that is not vaccinated.
Good
I
point.
want those laws changed. You're putting me in danger.
I'll tell you what, it'll be a human rights battle at 50 paces. Let's have a look at Anthony Albanese, because his electorate, all of Sydney, elsewhere, is all locked up tonight. Lots and lots of people in the seat of Greenlaw, that's his seat, locked down. But he's out of there. Now, he's not stupid, is he? He's crisscrossing the nation. He's doing what an opposition leader should. He's been up your way in Queensland, Gleeson, down to Tasmania, in and out of Canberra. He hasn't been home, we're told, for more than a month. Now, this itinerary in Queensland, Gleeson, Brisbane, Redcliffe, Cairns, Mackay, Gladstone, Moranbah, lots of mining territory there. What is his chances, do you think, of making inroads in Queensland?
I don't think his chances are great, although I'm hearing from good sources this afternoon that ScoMo's stocks have plunged over the COVID and the vaccination rollout. But look, you can't blame Albo for getting away from his inner city Sydney seat, because it's full of those woke types that don't believe in coal. Now, he went off to... he was the canary in the coal mine when he went off to Moranbah and had a look at that coal mine up there, because I'll tell you what, at the last election, just about every one of those miners deserted the Labor Party, voted against Shorten and voted for ScoMo. That's why they won seats like Flynn and Capricornia and Dawson and Herbert. He knows he has to win those seats. But the problem for Albo is he can say what he likes up there, but if he goes back to his electorate, to those woke people around Newtown or wherever it is, and starts talking about coal and, coal-fired power stations and how we have to support the miners, they'll lynch him. That's why he's not in Greenlaw at the moment.
All right,
I think he's being clever.
I want to go to the Olympics. So I'm going to give you, Gleeson, the last word on the Olympics. But Chris, before we do that, Sydney 2000 couldn't have had a better Olympics. I have to say, I'm pretty jaded on them since about that time. And this time round, skateboarding, rock climbing, apparently they're Olympic sports. I don't know, with $5 billion, really? Is it such a good thing to win this bid, or is it an albatross around our neck?
I think you might be right. I will really hope that Brisbane get the games, and I think that they will, in the southeast Queensland, that is. But having all these different sports, and then we're trying to watch this games when there are 63 COVID positive, and when so many other great athletes didn't even venture to Tokyo. It almost seems like the friendly games, some sort of invitational event. It is hard to get excited, and without crowds, I'll try my best, but I can't see myself getting excited about this one.
Well, it's the worst kept secret in sport. You're going to get it very shortly. We're waiting for the official confirmation. Gleeson, change my mind. Tell me why Brisbane getting the games 2032 is a good thing.
Okay, well, you worked in the echelons of government, the senior tiers of government for many years, and you know that you've got every MP there writing to the Prime Minister saying, please put an extra road here, an extra train here, all that sort of stuff. This will enable the bureaucrats around this country and the decision makers to have a deadline. 2032 is the deadline to make Brisbane and southeast Queensland the best and most livable part of this country, because we need a second M1. We need a heavy rail line between the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. We need a big entertainment centre in the heart of Brisbane. These will all be expedited by 2032 to cope for the Games. And then, of course, you've got the legacy. But the most important thing about the Olympic Games is, and I know it's corny and it's cliched, but it brings people together, and it brings cities together, and places like the Gold Coast, Brisbane and Sunshine Coast. Those folk will be absolutely committed to this. We will deliver, Queensland will deliver a much better Games than Sydney. Take it to the bank.
Oh,
all right,
you're
so
kidding.
A deadline to spend more money. I will try
deadline to spend more money.
to have a smile on my face.
Put it on the bank card.
Yeah, all right, we're going to leave it there. Chris Smith, well, yeah, Queensland, you are absolutely in hock already. Peter Gleeson, Chris Smith, thank you for your time.
Good to see you.
Good on you.